Jules, thank you so much for chatting with me. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So whereabouts are you based?
I'm in Toronto.
Lovely. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I know Toronto. I filmed in Hamilton quite a lot.
Oh, okay. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I'm just okay. Well, if you've been in the area, I'm just north of Toronto,
Right.
an area called Newmarket. I don't know if you're familiar with that,
I've
but
heard of it. Yes.
yes, yes. So, but most people don't know. So I just say Toronto.
Yeah, it was a bit like Hamilton, really, isn't it? When I was first told that I was going to be going to Toronto, and then actually kind of turned left instead of right when we came out the airport, and because Hamilton's quite different, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and the differences between the two cities it's smaller,
Mm.
it's beautiful,
Mm.
but we have football teams that have quite a rivalry actually between the
Oh,
two.
really?
Yeah, so
Oh, well, it's nice to talk to somebody in Canada anyway. It's lovely.
I appreciate that. Honestly, it's and absolutely loved Off the Rails. It's so much fun.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, it really is charming. I was wondering, for you, from your perspective, what excited you about taking the reins as director?
Well, I'd had this idea for a long time. I had been interrailing myself when I was 19 with my best friend. So it's based on my own life. Um, and when we finished the interrail, we said we would do it again. We promised each other very solemnly that we would do this again when we were 40. And then life got in the way, and I could see in my mid-30s that possibly wasn't going to happen.
Mm.
And I at that time was working in the industry as a director, and I thought that would make a really interesting film. Obviously, you know, it's got massive visual appeal, traveling through Europe, but this idea of a story in which four women who'd become estranged all had to get together again and revisit the same journey, and how would they cope with the journey, how would they cope with each other. And I felt it had a massive resonance, potential resonance for all sorts of people who've been interrailing, but specifically women. And so I made a short film called Tattoo, which was nominated for a BAFTA. That was my first short film, and it won the Palm Springs Film Festival. So it was, it was exciting, and had meetings, and this is one of the films I talked about. But it didn't really resonate, use that word again, with the industry, because there weren't films being made about women in midlife. Nobody had thought at that point, or nobody thought at that point that it would have any market success. And as we know, it's an industry that's a business, and they have to think about that. So there's no proof, if you like, to give confidence to the people I was meeting, and it was still very much a male run industry. So obviously people like Working Title had made Bridget Jones, but it was a younger age group. So I revisited this about 6 years ago, and I could see that the industry had changed. There was success with Mamma Mia, with Bridesmaids, which is a young demographic, but even so, and Blue Jasmine, which is a film that I love. And I watched Cate Blanchett accept her Oscar, giving this rallying cry, if you like, to the industry, saying, women want to see themselves on screen, and wake up, these films make money. So it was very inspiring. So I never let go of the idea, and directors need to be tenacious, and I am very tenacious, and I felt this was still the film I wanted to make as my first feature. And a friend of mine had died, a very, very close friend, and the film is a tribute to her. Her name is Emma. And I wanted to see how that would change the story, that she had given them a quest, if you like, to revisit this journey. And I know my friend Emma, who is a very wise soul, she would have done something like this because she would have wanted us to, or any women, to feel empowered, if you like, by this journey, and by the power of the friendship to enable them to see that they may have gone off track, if you like, with the lives that they had, but at 50 or in their 50s, they could still turn that around, and that they could get their lives back on track, and that 50s, being in your 50s is a wonderful opportunity to begin again. So I wanted it to be an empowering and positive film, as well as a film which is little partly about grief, but also massively about hope. And I think that in the time that we've been living in, it's really good to have a film like this, particularly running up to Christmas, and at Christmas, to feel that kind of warm, glowing emotion that we all kind of need, don't we? And so yeah, it's very timely that it's being released now.
Yeah, it fits in really well to this time of year, especially. But there is such a joy within the film, just throughout. And one of the things you were talking about, they were talking about. Well, I should say within the film, one thing that comes up is there's a conversation about deciding whether or not to, quote, pack it in or find a new way. I was wondering what that means to you in particular with this story.
Well, it's going back to what we were saying really about being in your 50s, being in midlife. And I think that, sorry, I've got a standing desk and it's just suddenly started raising itself. And so, I've worked as a director for the last 19 years. I have been directing, and so I've got built up a lot of experience, but I always wanted to be a film director, make films, and obviously now things have opened out into TV, so that we have obviously very similar products that we can watch on television, and like a lot of women, I've had a lot going on, as well as it being very hard for women to make films, because it's only about 10% of all directors are female. So for me, this is a new beginning, and it's essentially getting my career and life on the track that I'd set out for it to be on when I was making my first short film. And so that is very much my new beginning, and it's a very exciting one.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. We mentioned the word experience, I think, before, and I think there's a playfulness to this film, but it still keeps its maturity. This is a road trip movie, but I love the fact, like you said, it's women in a middle age. It's wonderful. I was wondering, do you think that like these characters, do you think we tend to lose our enthusiasm for life with more experience, or is it always there?
Well, I think we can get a bit ground down, can't we? And when I went on my original Interrail, we used to dance to Once in a Lifetime by Talking Heads. And, it was the song we danced to every night in this bar in Greece. And it's such a wonderful track. And we would all just go wild and sing it. And it was a great kind of anthem. But I didn't really appreciate what, the famous line. And, I asked myself, how did I get here? Really meant, but it kind of kept going round in my head, if you like, when I was approaching 40, sort of thinking, this isn't entirely what I expected. And obviously lots of people think that, lots of people have that, those thoughts. And so I think you're right. Yeah, people do get, they do lose a little bit of enthusiasm, or they feel a bit disenchanted. But what I wanted to show with this film, and I think, judging from the audience response when I've been doing Q&As in person, there is a sense that women and men, I hope, because actually a lot of men really like it, they kind of come away feeling, well, no, this is you can have a new beginning if you want it. It's absolutely there for the taking, and it's all about you owning it. But that the fortunate thing, if you like, is that these women have gone through a short journey, but it is a journey, but it's a very intense journey. And because the women have come together after such a long time, it kind of forces them to get into that situation where they do take stock and they do see at the end of it that they can make their lives different. They can do things that they, at the beginning of the journey, just didn't think were possible. I always felt like they were all kind of individually, like they were a little cog in a washing machine that keeps going round and round and repeating the same thing, that they somehow, they wanted to get out of the washing machine, but they couldn't get out of it. And that somehow this journey's kind of sort of kicked them out of the washing machine and, you know, onto their own sort of trajectory.
I know we're starting to run out of time, but I really did want to ask you too about Kelly.
Yes, of course. Yes.
You dedicate the film to her, but now I'm hearing in your story too that you know, you had a friend named Emma, that this sort of rooted. Does the experience, does the film take on more meaning to you now with her passing?
Yes, it really does. Yeah, it does. And I think that, you know, I think the fact that Emma and Kelly aren't here highlights what we've just been talking about, you know, even more, that you know, you have to take those opportunities and live for the day, because life is very precious. And I think probably I certainly I've heard that audiences are really affected by seeing Kelly in the film, and obviously the fact that she's passed, and you know, it sort of gives that extra layer of emotion, very much so. And you know, we were and still are devastated, and find it really very difficult to be releasing the film with Kelly not being here. You know, it's very tough. And I know the actresses, we were all very they were very close. They created this wonderful friendship on and off screen, and she was very loved. And the producers, in particular Bill Kenwright, you know, Bill and Kelly thought the world of each other. So you know, it's very tough for everybody. I mean, obviously it can't be anything like as desperate and painful as it is for her family, but you know, we were a little team, and very much myself and the actors very much a little gang.
You sense that in the story, and like it's such a joy. The film is such a joy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it truly is. And I know that, you know, if Kelly were here to see it, she would be so thrilled.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've said before, I think what's important is it should be, obviously it's dedicated to Kelly, but it should be an absolute celebration of her as an actress, because she was absolutely brilliant and phenomenal actress. Really, it was a total joy to work with her. Wonderful experience, and I feel very enriched by having met her and worked with her.
It's absolutely lovely, and so much fun. Like, by the way, I love the soundtrack. I love it. It's just a riot. You know, I love Blondie, and it works. So you know what? As we're wrapping up, why did you choose to lean so heavily into Blondie's catalog? What was it about that band before we go?
Well, I was very influenced by The Big Chill, and obviously the soundtrack is iconic, and music has always been a very big part of my filmmaking, whether it's documentaries or the drama I'd done before this. So I really wanted the soundtrack to be integral to the story. And when I met Bill, Bill Kenwright, he loved The Big Chill as well, and he immediately got that. And he's a massive music fan like me, and it was his idea that we should make it Blondie, because I was saying I really wanted Anna to have wanted to be Blondie, Debbie Harry, because you know, she's so cool, and I wanted to be Debbie Harry, and you know, who wouldn't want to be Debbie Harry? So he took that on further, and then came up with the idea of having the whole soundtrack sung by Debbie Harry, which was phenomenal. You know, it was I was blown away by that, and he worked very hard to get that. So I think it's very successful.
Yes, and it absolutely pops. It's great. It's so much fun. Jules, thank you so much. What a joy to speak with you. I wish you the best with the film,
Thank you.
and it's really, really fun. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Well, I hope everybody in Canada loves it.
Thank
Fingers
you. I hope
crossed.
so too. Yes, fingers crossed.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Don't worry, like you never